Job chapter 31, verse 1, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? Often there's a misconception that sexual immorality originates from the heart, as if it's a matter of feeling or thought leading directly to action. However, this overlooks an important initial step. Sexual immorality doesn't begin in the heart, rather the heart is involved in a later phase. This progression was understood by Job, who recognized that sexual immorality first stems from what one chooses to observe. For example, if he allowed himself to gaze at a woman with lust, his heart would then engage in those thoughts, eventually nudging him towards sin. To guard against this, Job pledged never to look at women with lust, a commitment David, by contrast, failed to make, resulting in his downfall. The book of Proverbs offers explicit warnings against following the path of adultery, likening an adulteress's bed to the grave. The Bible is replete with admonitions about sexual immorality, reflecting its pervasive challenge even among Christians. It's an issue many struggle with, despite clear biblical guidance to the contrary. Consider one of the biblical warnings against sexual immorality as an illustration, Proverbs chapter 6, verse 32. But whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul. This clearly demonstrates that not all sins are equal. Indeed, while all sin ultimately leads to death, they differ significantly in nature and consequence. For instance, telling a lie does not directly harm one's own body, nor does it destroy one's soul in the same way other sins might. The Bible specifically mentions that adultery, unlike theft or lying, results in the destruction of one's own soul. Sexual immorality is particularly grave. It's a concept that, I believe, we as humans do not fully understand or appreciate the seriousness of. Sexual immorality is a critical issue that must not be taken lightly, especially within the church. One significant aspect of this challenge today is pornography. Rather than consistently stating the word pornography, I will refer to it as unholy videos, because that is exactly what it is, unholy. This issue is of paramount concern in Christianity and necessitates urgent attention within church communities. Many individuals might avoid looking lustfully at others, yet they secretly engage in watching what can be termed as unholy videos. It's not uncommon to find people who publicly condemn lust and promiscuous behavior, but struggle privately with an addiction to watching such videos on the internet. The implications of viewing unholy videos extend beyond mere addiction and moral failing. It profoundly impacts individuals' psychological well-being. The prevalence of pornography consumption is alarming. Approximately 40 million Americans regularly view pornography, with such content accounting for 35% of all internet downloads. Even among church leaders, the statistics are concerning. 1 in 5 youth pastors and 1 in 7 senior pastors reportedly watch unholy videos on a regular basis. I believe this number could be higher, as not every pastor or youth pastor may admit to having an addiction to unholy videos. More than 70% of Christians or church members struggle with this issue, watching unholy videos at least once a month. Additionally, a vast majority of teens and young adults, 90% and 96% respectively, exhibit attitudes towards pornography ranging from encouragement and acceptance to neutrality. Every second, 28,258 users are watching pornography on the internet. You heard that correctly. Every second, approximately $3,075 is being spent on unholy videos on the internet. Every day, 68 million search queries related to unholy videos, 25% of total searches, are generated. And what shocks many is that 1/3 of pornography viewers are women. Job chapter 31, verse 1. I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? In a compelling testament to his righteousness, Job declared a covenant with his eyes not to look lustfully at a young woman. This declaration is found in Job 31, a chapter where Job articulates his final defense of integrity. Within this passage, Job details various virtuous actions he undertook to maintain his integrity before the Lord. Notably, he prioritizes his commitment to guard his eyes from lustful gazes above all other actions. This choice underscores the profound significance Job places on the purity of sight as a cornerstone of righteous living. The act of beginning his list with a vow to control his gaze reveals much about the ethical framework within which Job operated. It suggests that the ability to refrain from lustful gaze is a critical measure of a person's overall righteousness and blamelessness. This perspective is not unique to Job, but resonates throughout biblical teachings and is reflected in the characterization of Job as an upright and blameless man, a designation that speaks to his moral fortitude and spiritual integrity. Furthermore, Job's covenant highlights a universally acknowledged truth. The eyes serve as a gateway through which lust can enter, particularly affecting men. However, women are not immune to this either. A lustful gaze can create various strongholds in your life. Once Satan has a stronghold, he will not relinquish it easily. This explains why many individuals struggle to stop. They find themselves battling the same sin for 10, 20, 30 years. Why? Because it has become a stronghold. With just 1, 2, 3 clicks, you gain access to another world. The more you immerse yourself in this world, the deeper the stronghold becomes, and the tighter its claws wrap around you. We inhabit a time of unprecedented change, where the very fabric of human morality and behavior is undergoing a transformation. This era is characterized by the ease with which sin can be delivered to our doorsteps, akin to ordering a product online. With just a few clicks, individuals can find themselves plunged into a world that is, at best, morally ambiguous and, at worst, outright demonic. This digital proximity to sin has not only made it more accessible, but has also altered our perception of it. People's frequent engagement with sin through various digital platforms has led to a desensitization toward behaviors and content that were once universally condemned. As individuals become increasingly entrenched in their sins, there's a growing tendency to normalize such behaviors. What was once considered aberrant or harmful is now often viewed as an inseparable part of one's identity or lifestyle. This shift in perception is not a mere change in societal norms, but a fundamental alteration in how sin is internalized and rationalized by individuals. The constant bombardment of sinful content coupled with societal validation has blurred the lines between right and wrong for many, leading to a state where the abnormal becomes normal and the harmful becomes acceptable. This normalization of sin is a concerning development, as it signifies a detachment from traditional moral anchors. The idea that one can order sin to their doorstep as easily as ordering food or clothes online illustrates the commodification of vice in today's society. This ease of access, combined with an environment that often celebrates rather than condemns certain types of sin, has facilitated a cultural shift. Sin is no longer something to be avoided or repented. It's increasingly seen as a personal choice or expression devoid of moral weight. Moreover, this era is marked by a rapid evolution in human behavior and relationships. The digital world, while offering numerous benefits, also poses significant challenges to our moral compass. The anonymity and detachment provided by screens can lead individuals to engage in actions they would otherwise avoid in real life. This disconnection from the tangible consequences of our actions has further contributed to the changing landscape of morality. The problem with this stronghold is that it introduces other strongholds. Once pornography becomes a stronghold, lust becomes a stronghold, which then leads to another stronghold, fornication. Fornication, in turn, escalates to adultery when one is married. One stronghold opens the door to more. What happens in the unseen world when you watch pornography is that it builds lust. It nurtures and feeds it, providing everything lust needs to grow. Why do you think Job made a covenant with his eyes? The idea of a covenant, a term of Latin origin, convenire, meaning a coming together, presupposes two or more parties who come together to make a contract, agreeing on promises, stipulations, privileges, and responsibilities. He was in agreement with his eyes about what he would look at. Job chapter 31, verse 1, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? Lust is something not to be played with. Job's profound understanding that God is omnipresent and omniscient, seeing everything we do and fully aware of our actions, serves as a foundational truth for living a righteous life. He recognized that no aspect of our lives, especially our sins, can be concealed from God. This awareness informed Job's approach to life, compelling him to live in a manner that aligns with divine expectations. The reality is stark. While it's possible to hide aspects of our lives from our spouses, pastors, or anyone else in our social circles, we ultimately do not stand accountable to them at the end of our earthly journey. The ultimate accountability lies before God, the one being from whom nothing can be hidden. This realization drives the importance of striving to lead a life that is upright and blameless in the eyes of God. In today's world, where exposure to inappropriate content, particularly unholy videos, is unprecedentedly high, adopting the principle of making a covenant with our eyes, as Job did, becomes increasingly pertinent. We live in an era marked by an avalanche of temptations, unparalleled in the annals of human history. These temptations are not just more accessible, but are also more varied and complex, making the need to guard our senses, especially our sight, more critical than ever. Making a covenant with our eyes, in essence, is committing to a disciplined vigilance over what we choose to see and engage with. This commitment isn't merely about avoiding explicit materials. It extends to all forms of content that can lead us away from the path of righteousness. Like Job, we are reminded that God's omnipresence includes an awareness of our innermost thoughts and actions. Nothing is beyond his sight. This knowledge should not incite fear, but rather inspire a purifying reverence that guides our decisions and behaviors. Entertaining lustful thoughts, engaging in actions that compromise our moral integrity, and any form of sexual immorality are all seen by God. Understanding this should serve as a deterrent to such behaviors, but more importantly, it should motivate us to cultivate a life of purity and devotion. The concept that God is always watching us should not only act as a check against transgression, but also as a comfort, knowing that our efforts to live a holy and blameless life are acknowledged by Him. In this age of temptation, making a covenant with our eyes, choosing deliberately what we expose ourselves to, is not just advisable, it's a necessary act of spiritual hygiene. It's a declaration of our commitment to live in a way that honors God, recognizing His constant presence in our lives. Like Job, our aim should be to lead lives that reflect our consciousness of God's perpetual oversight, striving always to live in ways that are pleasing to Him, fully aware that our ultimate accountability is to the Creator who sees all.